I see you're all here for me today, but I also brought Brad. So, Brad, why don't you come on up, buddy? Good to see you, man.
Cool.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Guy's a little disappointed he didn't wear his suit. Anybody disappointed?
Left my suspenders in the truck today.
Is this working? Can you guys hear him?
Yes.
There you go. Okay, fantastic. All right, bro, you ready to do this again?
Let's do it. Round two.
All right, round two. Round two. Well, God has clearly done an amazing work. You know, it's Memorial Weekend. We have a great military presence here at Canyon Springs. And I just want to say to all of you, we cannot thank you enough. We cannot thank you enough for your service. And it goes so much beyond just, okay, I'm going to sign up and I'm going to do my job throughout the world, because those decisions that you made have an impact on your family and they have an impact on your life. And Brad is just an unbelievable example of what that decision to sign up, man, had you had any idea what was going to happen to you? Wow. So here's the way it's going to work. I'm basically in the way during this whole interview. So I'm just going to ask Brad a question and just let him roll, and maybe ask just a couple of questions. But really, Brad, we just want to hear your story, because it's a great story of redemption and the way God works. But it took you had to hit a little bit of rock bottom before you get to that spot, huh?
A little bit. Yeah, thank you. So I grew up just outside of Detroit, Michigan, and I grew up as kind of a outcast kid. I grew up in an environment of rules and regulations and restrictions, and I grew up in a very religious community where rules trump relationship, and that's the kind of environment in which I grew up in. I was always kind of a weird kid. My ears were always kind of big. I had red hair. That was weird. I played violin. That was weird. And I was just kind of this outcast kind of kid. And but I always had this kind of tenacity and this kind of never quit kind of attitude. I was never the biggest, never the strongest, but I always would work the hardest, try the hardest. And in 2008. Fast forward in a whole bunch, I was actually going into the Air Force, and I was really excited, and I had been doing I was on year 2 of college and pursuing my degree. I wanted to be a fighter pilot in the Air Force, and I was doing great. I was doing great in schoolings. I was preparing for a summer school. I was going to go out, or come out here actually to California and do a kind of flight school. And one of my buddies from back home in Detroit calls me and says, "Hey, you want to do a cage fight? I got an opening." I said, "Yeah, let's do it."
It's always a great decision.
And and flew home and dropped like 30 pounds in a couple weeks and pretty much just didn't eat. And I was just so weak, but I was training so hard, and I was just like, "No, I'm going to do it. Let's do this thing." I've been training for a while, like previously. This wasn't just like a off the limb, "Hey, guess what? There's a cage. Go step in and go fight." Okay. No, I've been training. I've been doing it previously. I was not prepared for this fight. Ended up stepping in the cage, shattered the left side of my face.
Ooh.
Get my discharge out of the Air Force. End up pretty much getting kicked out of school, and had nothing. And at the inception of my idea to be in the military, I wanted to be a Marine. And my dad was an American history teacher, and I went up to my dad after September 11th happened. I said, "Dad," he had this big old picture of a Marine in his classroom. I said, "Dad, I want to be that. I want to do that." And he said, "Okay, let's try the Air Force." And I didn't work out. And so I finally came to this point. I was like, "You know what? I'm going to join the Marines." And I joined, and I loved it from the get-go. Absolutely loved being a Marine. Loved this new kind of environment I was in, and training and working and getting into it. And in 2010, I deployed to southern Afghanistan. And went there at the peak of the War on Terror in terrorist hotspot in Marja. And on July 20th, we were conducting a combat patrol, and our specific job on this day was that of personal security. They were in a campaign season. It was much like it is here right now, except less chaotic. Put that together.
Right.
And moving on real quickly so we don't get political, but it's my team's job to protect this guy that's running for office. A lot of people think the war in Afghanistan, everyone spouts out, it's about oil, it's about terrorism, but ultimately it's about drugs. It's a war on drugs. Drugs fund a lot of their operations. 80% of America's heroin comes from the poppy fields of Afghanistan. And what we were doing is we were trying to get rid of that, and we're trying to provide them get them some kind of economy going, get them a sustainable way to farm and to grow crops. And let's get rid of these drug crops and let's provide you with something else to start growing. Let's get this booming. And this politician that we were in charge of protecting was on our team, and he said, hey, you know what? Let's get rid of the drug trade. Let's get rid of the Taliban drug cartel and all the things that are going on, and let's start bringing Afghanistan back. Great, but if you tell the Taliban you want to get rid of their drug cartel and all their crops, that's not a man they're going to want to keep alive. So it was our job to keep this man alive. And on this day, he was basically going out on a campaign, and he was going to talk to this village. And we load up in the trucks. We're in up-armored vehicles, and I get up on the roof, and I get on my .50 caliber machine gun and get it ready, and we bounce out. Every day that we were in trucks, that was my job. I was good at it. I loved it. I knew my job, and I did it well.
So what does that look like? So you're on this truck, right? So you have people below, where are you?
So I'm standing out of the roof. There's a big hole in the roof that has some glass and cover, and there's a big .50 caliber machine gun that's facing out of it.
Yeah.
So I am the very last truck facing the back of the patrol, and I'm in control of all the rear security with a .50 caliber.
And you're exposed.
I mean, yes.
Okay. Feels exposed to me. Anyone
Feels
with me on
exposed,
that?
absolutely,
Yeah, .50 caliber weapon. I'm standing up in the back. Okay.
Yeah, fun gig though.
Yeah.
And we push out, go successful. It's supposed to take about 2 hours. We end up sitting out in the 130-degree heat in the middle of July for about 6 hours. Finally, he gets done. He finishes up, and we load back up in the trucks. We get on the radio, say we're good to go. We start pushing out. Vehicles start rolling. All of a sudden, one of my best friends tugs on my leg, and he was our dismount Marine, and his name was Corporal Vargas, and he tugs on my pant, and he says, hey, switch me spots for the ride home. I said, no, I got it. We're good. We're already pushing out. Comms are good. Let's go. And he tugs on my leg, hits me again, and says, hey, switch me spots. I said, no, I'm good. He says, it's hot out. You've been up there all day. I know you're exhausted. Plus, I'm kind of bored back here. I want to see outside. Let me get some action. I said, no, dude, I got it. Finally, he just says, switch me spots now. So we radio it in, say, hey, Flight Vargas, they're switching spots. Roger that. We switch. I get in the back seat, put my harness on. He gets up in the turret, puts his harness on, and we start rolling out. Next thing I know, I open up my eyes, and I'm in a hospital in Germany, coming out of a coma. Our truck had rolled over a 300-pound roadside bomb. Corporal Vargas was killed instantly in the turret, and I woke up in Germany with pretty critical injuries.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's right. That's what this is. I noticed this on your wrist in his honor. It's amazing. So tell me, you didn't know this then, but you know this now. From the time that bomb blew up to the time you got, what was happening?
So as soon as we got hit, our convoy stopped. We had about a 16-ton vehicle flipped over. Completely. I mean, it was a huge blast, and the bottom half of my spine ended up going through my stomach. Top half of my spine went through my lung. Kind of fractures all over my body, and they were able to eventually get me out of the vehicle, and were able to kind of pancake me in half to slide me out of the turret window to be able to get me out. And there's about a 10-foot canal about from here to the chairs, and about 7-8 foot water, and they had to drag me across this to get to the other side where the helicopter was going to land. And because it was deep and the stretcher they had me on wouldn't straighten out and they couldn't get it going, they had to lift me over their heads and take me through this water. And my team guys, they would swim under the water of the canal, get on their hands and knees, and the Marines would walk over their backs while they were underwater to get across this canal. And when they're losing breath, they come up, get air, go to the front of the line, go back under, and get on their hands and knees and walk across, and ended up getting me to safety and saved my life. And for that, I am extremely grateful. And woke up after all this, and I remember my first thoughts, thinking that these doctors, who I didn't know were doctors, 1 minute my eyes are open, the next minute I open my eyes and I'm laid up in a bed with tubes and needles coming out of me. And my first assumption is this combat mindset of this doctor that's running towards me to pull the tube out of my throat. He's a terrorist and they're torturing me, and that's why I can't move. So my instinct was to reach up and try to choke him or her and kill her. She's a terrorist.
Yeah.
And end up kind of coming to and they fight it off, get me all set up, and they're telling me, no, you're safe, you're in a hospital, you were injured. And didn't believe him. Finally, I got my platoon sergeant, and I talked to my dad. And, they said, hey, this is real. This happened. Let these people help you. They're trying to keep you alive. Quit trying to kill them. Okay. And as soon as I came to the realization that this is real, and this is actually happening, and I can't feel my legs, and I broke my spine, and I had this incredible career in front of me, and now I'm paralyzed, and I'm not going to walk again. And I used to know this God, and the God that I grew up with wouldn't let this happen. And then I remember looking up at the ceiling of my room and just cursing God, and letting him know that what we had, this battle we've had going on of, do you exist, do you not exist, are you alive, I don't really know. And now I knew for sure that I didn't. And especially after going to war and seeing darkness and experiencing evil firsthand, it really turned me off to this idea that there's a just and loving God out there.
What just give us a little, I know you can't go into all the details of what kinds of things that you saw when you were over in Afghanistan that made you think, you know what, a loving God cannot allow this to happen.
Yeah, I've always had a passion for kids, and now being a dad, and I have a little 18-month-old boy, and you see these fathers in these war-torn lands, and they're eager almost to sell their sons to these terrorist camps, and they're eager to strap on a suicide vest to them and say, hey, go walk that way, and press a button, and they're willing to let their daughters go for drug money or for crops or for a cow, for food, whatever, and they're just willing to say, hey, go. And this idea of love just shattered me, and I didn't believe in it.
Yeah.
And I called its bluff, and especially after I woke up, I said there is no such thing as a just and a loving God. And I started getting all kinds of messages from people, saying, hey, I'm praying for you. And as soon as somebody would say even the slightest thing about God to me, I would immediately write them back with very choice Marine Corps language words. Yeah. I hated it. I hated the idea of God. I hated being in the presence of Christians. My parents loved Jesus so much, and they've showed me, and raised me to be this man. I didn't want it, wanted nothing to do with it, and every time someone brought up God, I just lost my mind, and ended up starting to make this recovery that I was never supposed to make. And doctors are never going to tell a kid, hey, you're never going to walk again, good luck with life. They told me, hey, due to the damage to your spine, we're not going to say you're never going to walk again, but we kind of hope you come to that conclusion on your own. Spoiler alert, I'm walking. Good. In case you're wondering.
So at this point, somebody switches spots with you. God's hand is in that to keep you here.
Yeah.
Your spinal cord is, how do you even have a spinal cord at that point? You broke your back, but your spinal cord somehow remains intact, which is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? So you're in the hospital, you're blown up, you want nothing to do with God. How is this story? What changes in this story? How does God start working on you?
So every kind of moment that I take forward physically, I kind of regress mentally and emotionally, spiritually. And I start making this phenomenal physical recovery. And I am just doing amazing. And I just become this prideful Marine again. And look what I'm doing. Look what I am coming back from. God, I am cursing you. You obviously have nothing to do with this. I am doing this on my own. Look what I am doing. And that was my mindset. And then I came to this point. I got moved from Bethesda, Maryland, and I got moved to a specialty hospital in Richmond, Virginia. They specialized in spinal polytrauma injuries and getting kids like me to learn how to walk again. And I go to this hospital, and this is after trying to commit suicide and just wanting nothing more to be dead. And now I'm making this comeback, and life's not good, but I mean it's a little better. I'm about to be walking again, and life's looking up. And I'm still in a wheelchair though, and I remember I was laying in my hospital bed and I look up. Somebody saying, I was like, God, I hate you, but I want to ask you for something. Let's cause a timeout in our beef right now.
It's an all-time great prayer, by the way. This what is coming. Go ahead.
I want to preface this. Don't like you still, but I want something from you. And I was like, God, you know what? I used to be 215 pounds, solid muscle, working out all the time, just awesome, stoked, yoked dude. Now I'm 94 pounds. I just had a stomach transplant, and I'm pale as Casper, and I look like a vampire from Twilight. Like, I don't look good. And I'm in a wheelchair. I was like, God, you know what? This is how it's going to be. This is how it's going to be. But I need you to provide me with a smoking hot girl that doesn't mind dating a vampire-looking Casper-looking wheelchair kid. Okay? Make it happen. And wild enough, it worked. And a couple days
So
later,
see all the single guys right there, just go,
they're
hey,
taking notes.
how you
I know how
this
to
down?
fucking
What was
do
that? Yeah, that's a great prayer.
And I end up getting this Facebook message a couple days later from this girl, and she writes me, and she's like, hey, just want to let you know, I'm pretty close to your best friend, Barry, and I've been keeping up with your story, and I've been following what's been going on. I just want to let you know I'm thinking about you. I'm praying for you. If you ever need anything, let me know. So it's like, oh, here we go. Can't wait to let this one have it. And I'm prepping my comeback, and I click on her like, who is this girl writing me, praying for me? I was like, oh, she's cute. I can't say mean words to her, you know? And I write her back, and keep in mind, I'm not the most rational being at this point in my life. I'm doped up on a lot of painkillers. I'm pretty much high all the time, and I'm not thinking clearly. And a clear, coherent person would say, hey, you know what, Amy, thank you so much for this message. You're so sweet. I'll definitely let you know. Thanks for keeping me in your prayers. That's rational, and that's kind, and that's nice. I write her back, and I decide to go another route. And I say, hey, are you single? And she writes me back, and she says, yes, question mark. And I said, great, come visit me Friday. I said, whoa, hold on. What is going on? I'm not coming to visit you Friday. So you just said if I need anything, let you know. I got blown up by a bomb. I need you to come visit me Friday. Come visit me Friday.
Such a great pickup line. So good. You're smooth. You're smooth.
Yeah, I'm smooth. That bomb may have taken away my body, but it did not take away my game. I still had it.
We're still believing this is an act of God that she came, not an act of your smoothness.
So she shows up on Friday, and she comes walking into my room. She's wearing this just super cute sundress and cowboy boots and this curly red hair, and she looks good. But she has this giant poster board full of Bible verses and encouraging notes from the Bible. And I was like, oh, man, but you're so cute. And she goes over to my wall, and she pins it up on the wall, and she sits down, and we start talking, and we end up watching Twilight and talking about vampires and life.
So just a running theme. Twilight keeps coming up.
And we end up, we start dating, and she comes up, keeps visiting me in the hospital and pushing my wheelchair, and just really loving me from the get-go. And about 2 months later, we end up, I got orders to come back to California with Pendleton. And I said, hey, I'm going back to Pendleton. You should come with me. It's California. It's amazing. It's not really a decision I make without a ring on my finger. Boom. Rational. Brad pops in. I'm buying you a ring. And I go and I get a ring, and it was actually a pretty cool engagement. And she said yes, and we move out to California, and I take this girl.
How many months after you met her?
2? 3?
3. Oh, she's pushing it to 3.
I
okay.
got a brain injury.
Yeah.
3 months. 2 months, 3 months. It's all the same. So we get married 3 months later and move out to California. And I got all this stuff going on. I'm trying to figure out, my careers. I'm obviously losing my career. I got this new body. I got this new brain and mental state. I don't know what this post-traumatic stress thing people keep talking about is. I don't know what's going on physically, mentally. I'm married. Whoa. I got to figure out how to be a husband and live with another person and love somebody else. And I had no idea how to give love. I didn't know how to receive love. I didn't know how to give love. I didn't believe that this thing called love existed. And I took this woman that loved me unconditionally and relentlessly from the inception of walking into my room, and I just absolutely crushed her. And I got severely addicted to my drugs and my painkillers, and I began abusing these. And my nightmares got so intense and they were violent, and I would wake up with my hands around her throat and her screaming. And it got to the point where we would just basically live on separate sides of the house. And I was high all the time and abusing my meds, and she's trying to work and keep the house in order. And finally she approached me and she said, "Brad, I think you have a problem." And I said, "No, I don't have a problem." She said, "Yeah, she's walking on eggshells around me." She's like, "I think you got a drug issue." And I go and lose my mind, and I said, "No, I don't have a drug issue. I deserve drugs. I got blown up by a bomb and all this, blah, and I need these. I need drugs." And finally I got to the point where it was so bad, and she said, it's drugs or me. And I think she was expecting me to finally be a little rational about it and say, I choose this. And I ended up choosing drugs and gave her divorce papers and left. And I'd spend the next about a year and a half just really sabotaging my life. And I had encountered 3 failed suicide attempts where I violently tried to die. And each time I tried, I failed. And I'd just wake up, in my own blood and trying to figure out why can't I do this? Why can't I not die? Why is it so impossible for me to just cease to exist? That is all I want. It is all I craved was my drugs and death. And I couldn't do it.
You could say, you can just look, from our perspective, you see God hunting you down. You see God just. So we just did this song, Breathe. It's a beautiful song that you wrote. Tell them about that, where this song comes from.
Yeah, so all those failures in trying to kill myself just rendered me worthless and useless. And that's all I was. I used to have this purpose, and now I'm just this lifeless human. And I am absolutely worthless. I can't even kill myself. And so that just triggers worse and worse drug abuse and substance abuse and addictions after addiction after addiction. And I end up finally getting to this absolute darkness and deepest part of my life, and try killing myself once more. And I end up not succeeding again. And I came to this crossroad after that. And I had this moment where I decided, I don't want to keep doing this. I'm sick of this. And it really wasn't a God moment yet to me. And I went home and locked myself in my bathroom and slept 17 days on my bathroom floor, withdrawing from these drugs. And on day 17, it was the first time in the last 4 years of life where I was actually dying. And it was surreal to me. I could feel my body closing. I could feel it shutting down. I could feel my heart stopping, and I couldn't breathe. I felt like my chest was just done and caving in. I felt like there was 1,000 pounds on top of me. I could not catch a breath. And the only thing I could think to do was just scream at God with all the energy I had. And I just said, "God, make me breathe." And I just screamed it with all I had. And this voice, like you're talking to me right now, just came over and said, "So breathe." And in a moment, everything stopped. Everything went away. Everything. I was terrified. And I sat up and I was like, that had to have been the drugs. And I was like, wait, I haven't been on drugs. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. The only thing I could think to do is call Amy. I gotta talk to Amy about this. Now the whole this whole year process of me being gone on my own on drugs, just sabotaging my life, my ex-wife was fasting and praying for me, and not giving up on me. And she would send me a message and say, "Hey, I just want to let you know I love you today, and I'm thinking about you, and I hope you have a good day." I would write her back and say, "I hate you. You were the worst person in the world. Go die." And just passionately, just abused that, and tried everything I could to make her just go away. She wouldn't, and she wouldn't quit on me, and she wouldn't listen to the people telling her to quit on me, and she listened to God and pursued me still. And so I call her right after this happened. I was like, "Amy, we're just gonna know what just happened." And I say, "Hey, we need to meet up right now." I said, "I can't." I said, "No, we need to meet up right now." I said, "I don't live in California anymore." Dang.
Yeah.
Oh man, what do I do now? So I end up flying to Michigan, and we're talking about this and what's going on, and we end up getting back together, and had this encounter with God, and Amy and I are getting back together, and multiple hospitals, multiple doctors told me I could never have children, and as bad as I wanted to be a combat operational Marine, my wife wanted to be a mom, and I could do that for her now due to my injuries. She ends up getting pregnant, and it's this amazing moment, and I'm sitting there going, I thought they said, it was just, I didn't believe God could do anything like this. My kid looks exactly like me.
Yes.
Exactly like
Yes.
me.
Did anybody see his kid in the courtyard? Oh my
definitely had a
gosh.
kid.
Yes.
But
Yes.
but
Beard. Just everything.
yeah. And here's where I failed, is I had this encounter with God. And he literally gives me all this stuff back. And he says, "Here, have this family. Be blessed." And what I did was I had this moment with God, and I saw this miracle in my life multiple times. And what I did is I sought after this God of intervention as opposed to this God of intervention. Whoops. I sought out this God of intervention as opposed to this God of transformation. I wanted God to be there for me in this moment, pull me out of this pain, set me up on my feet again, and then just go away. Just go away and let me be me. Thank you for getting me out of this hard time. Now go away. Let me do what I'm doing. And that was how I did it. And I went back to this past of follow some rules, you'll be an okay Christian. Go to church on Sunday, be a Christian, do whatever else you want Monday through Saturday. Just make sure you're in church on Sunday. Follow some rules. Great. So I did that for a while. And 2 months after Brixton was born and my marriage is going well, I wrecked it again, and I fell back into this state of self-sabotage. And I drove down the highway and ended up parking under an overpass and stuck my 45 Smith & Wesson in my mouth and said, "I'm going to do this for real this time. I can't keep doing this." And it was this lie, and it was these attacks that just were haunting me, saying, "You don't deserve these blessings. You don't deserve what God has given you. You don't deserve this wife and this family." And in my heart, I believed that my wife and my child would be so much better without me. And I lied to myself, and I said, if you kill yourself, they will be so happy, and they will be so much better off. And I ended up getting a phone call and got invited to this 6-day retreat kind of thing.
Did you get the phone call when you were underneath the overpass? When did you get that phone call?
It was an email.
It was an email.
I checked my phone. I had an email.
You
from
got a gun in your mouth, and you check your phone. You get an email at that point.
It's 2014, man.
No, I get you. But what I'm trying to say is, it's not random that you got that email at that moment.
Right.
There's no randomness to this. This is God saying, I got to have this guy.
Yeah, and my wife actually signed me up to go to this program. It's called Mighty Oaks Warrior Programs. And it's for combat operational Marines that have been wounded, and they get out, and Mighty Oaks shows them purpose and identity. And for me, my identity was in the Marine Corps. It was in combat, and it was being this man. And what I had to realize is that my identity was not in the Marine Corps. My purpose was never being a Marine. My identity was always in my Creator. My purpose was always for Him. And that's what I didn't know. And I never knew the relationship side of Christianity. All I knew were rules, and I end up going to Mighty Oaks and end up just surrendering everything and falling on my face, and I'm not doing this on my own anymore. I am absolutely done. And I think one of the second biggest lies that Christians believe is that as soon as you come to Christ, it's better. It's good. Everything you were dealing with before is just gone. Life is just free sailing now. And I thought that at first. I thought all I need to do is get saved and my troubles are over. And what I didn't realize is that in becoming a Christian, there's this transformation that begins to take place. When I became a Marine at Parris Island, South Carolina, and they put the Eagle Globe and Anchor in my palm, and they said, "Congratulations, Marine." I gained a title, but I wasn't ready to go to combat. I wasn't ready. I had to go to schools. I had to go to different schools. I had to go to trainings. I had to get broken down. I had to go through this and this and this and this. And finally, I got to this point where it's, okay, go here. And that's how I was as a Christian. When I came to this moment of transformation, and I got this title, hey, you are my son. You are this Christian now. But it's this transformation that takes place over time until I am made complete. And it's these trials that come into my life that I get to see God in now.
Yeah.
And be able to get to praise Him
Right.
during these things.
Right. It's kind of this American view of Christianity that you're going to become a Christian, and then all your lottery tickets are going to become winners, and your house is going to go up in value, and all your kids are going to always love you, and that kind of stuff. And the reality is you just have that person to help you get through those things, to help you to give your spirit and power into a difficult world. But you're still in that world. But now you have Jesus. Was there a moment at that 6 days that your wife was there a moment that Jesus just came rushing into your life? Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember it was the first time I ever had a transparent, authentic conversation about God. And I'm looking at all these other men that are up there that are just warriors. And they have just as grimy and some of them even dirtier past than I do. And I remember thinking, man, there's no way that God is ever going to let me back in. I am too far gone. My past is too dirty. My past is just gross. There's no way God can take this tatted up drug addict that has been cursing Him for years and use me somehow for His glory. That's not going to happen. And I was told the story of the prodigal son coming home. And I was shown this in my life, and he said, listen, you don't have to do anything to earn this back. You can't earn it back. He said when this prodigal son is coming home, his dad is outside waiting, and the son's walking down, and the dad comes out of the city lines and runs to him, just passionately pursues this kid and goes, "You're home, you are home." And the kid immediately starts trying to make excuses why he shouldn't be home. He says, "I don't deserve this." And he says, "Stop talking. You're home, and I love you. Here's a robe, here's jewelry, here are rings. Here's this, here's a feast we're preparing for you. Welcome home." And for me, it was this moment of God just finally, me letting Him in and finally saying, "You know what? Thank you for your pursuit of my life. Thank you for your grace."
Based on nothing that you've done. In fact, maybe even based on all the horrible things that you've done.
I have done.
That's right. That's right. So, it's you tell a story like this. Sometimes you get in a room like this and you go, "Wow, that's an amazing, huge, powerful story, but what does it have to do with me?" Well, listen, folks, we all roll our vehicles over a bomb, and sometimes it goes off, and sometimes it is, as first service, remember we met the guy in the back.
Yeah.
About 9 months ago, he was in my office saying, "I just found out I have ALS, and my body is quickly in decline." And he just told me in 2 weeks he'll probably be here in a wheelchair. And that was the moment that God got a hold of his life. Sometimes it's a phone call from a doctor. Sometimes it's a phone call, at work that you're not working anymore. Or something happens to your kid, and all of a sudden your life blows up, and you realize, I can't do it anymore. It's not me, and I've got to rely on this God. And I want to make sure that we don't leave without having this opportunity to encounter this God that doesn't say, you got to earn it, you got to be better, you got to work your way up. Just this last week, I had a couple in my office, and he's military, and he's just got to this point. He says, "Man, I reached 18, and I said I would never show up in a church again, and I don't believe in God anymore." And I have a church full of people that said that exact same thing. And so before we go, I want to just say this. Well, I want to say two things. This clearly, first off, we have Brad's book right here. It's Life and Death. We can't tell the whole story. This is going to be on sale for $20 out in the courtyard. If Brad will sign it for you. If you don't have the money, then that's just take a book. If you have more money, will you take that?
Marines can
Yes.
read and we can write.
Yes. Wow. It is a miracle story, right? But clearly, there's a hero here, and the hero's name is not Brad. In fact, the closest thing we have to a human hero is, I have to say, Amy.
Yep.
It's amazing. I mean, only God could have walked you through those steps, and it's just what an amazing. This is God's grace. And he offers it up to us. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pray. I'm going to lead these people. If anybody wants to know this Jesus, I'm going to lead them in that, and then you're going to pray for them, okay? So bow your heads. Don't look around. Do you want to know this God? Do you need him? Has your life blown up? Do you realize that you've tried to do it on your own and you can't? This God of grace is here, and he's alive, and he's relentlessly pursuing you. And maybe it's not this radical story that's told on Larry King, but God cares enough about you to take you through difficult things, to get you to that place where you realize your need for him. If you want to know this God, it begins very simply. Just pray this. Say, God, I want you to come into my life. I've been trying to run my life. I've been trying to do it. I've been trying to be the hero of my life. And God, I need you to be the hero of my life. I need to give my life to you today. I need to experience your love and experience your grace. Thank you for dying on the cross. Take away my sin. And God, come into my life. And let me tell you, if you pray that, God comes in and he changes you. No, it's not easy, right? It's not easy. But he gives you the power to do it. A power that you never realized that you could have. If you prayed that, we'd love to know about it. If you want to find Brad and talk to him, if you want to talk to me, if you want to just take your little white card and say, I made a decision, and give that the information to it. However, just let us know. We want to help you on this journey.
Heavenly Father, I am so grateful for your love and God, your grace. And God, thank you for the air in our lungs. God, thank you for waking us up this morning and breathing, Lord. God, I just pray that if there are chains in this room that need to be broken, God, I just pray that you can break them in only a way that you can. And God, I pray for the attacks that are consistently going on this body, Lord. And I just pray that those in this room, Lord, are just armored up. And God, I pray for your protection over these people. And God, I just pray for the hurting heart right now. God, I just pray for your peace to overwhelm that. And God, I just pray for the pains in this room, God, whether it's mental or emotional or something physical, Lord. I just pray that your peace, Lord, and your love steps in and washes that away, God. And I just pray that your joy fills us. And no matter what we're going through, God, I just pray that we can rejoice and we can be glad in it because you're with us. And God, I just pray for this body as we leave here today, God, to just honor and glorify you. And it's in your name.
Amen. Okay, so this is how, yes, you can applaud. I think that's for you. I don't think it's for me. I think that's for you. Hey, let me tell you how we're going to end. Brad's going to get in this spot. Brad is not only a writer, but he's a songwriter as well. And some of the stories that have happened to him have led to some music. You heard one of them. But this band that he has put together is called The Makers. And The Makers is actually doing some USO tours. They're not technically USO tours, but that's the best way people could understand them. So this band, including Kyle, is going to be traveling to Alaska to do some touring. Is he here? Yeah, there is. Also, you're going to be in Afghanistan for a couple weeks, right? End of August, right? So we need to pray about them. So they're gonna close with a song by the Makers. You know, one would say this too. Sometimes you wonder, you come to church, we do offering, and wonder, why do we do this? Is it just, so that, I can drive a nicer car? Look, here's why we do it. So that this message of Jesus that can transform lives can go out. And that's what we do. And we give that message to our elementary school kids so that they love church. And they're not just getting rules, but they love it. In our high school and junior high, so that word can go out. That's why we give. So that this word can go out to people and transform lives. And I can see how it's done that to different people. So that's why you're giving. We're going to take our offering, and then Brad will be out there signing books. If you want me to sign your book, I'll do it too, all right?
Lost in a shipwreck, searching for land. The oceans are swelling, the lighthouse is down. Bound down your treason, I see your broken ground. In my eyes, there's a beautiful kind of faith. In my hand, and a bullet through my vein. I carry on in this beautiful kind of pain. I carry on in this beautiful kind of pain. Oh. My heart is for you, and it's worn on my sleeve. Bloodied but beating for me to not grieve. The tears are flooding, and I stretch out my hands, searching for I'm still as a ghost to a broken man. In my eyes, there's a beautiful kind of pain. A rose in my hand, and a bullet through my vein. 'Cause I carry on in this beautiful kind of pain. I carry on. Beautiful kind of pain, oh. Yes, in my eyes, there's a beautiful kind of pain. A rose in my hand, and a bullet through my vein. 'Cause I carry on beautiful kind of pain. I carry on in this beautiful kind of pain. Thank you, church.